Thank you to all my channel members, including my fan appreciation level members and my contributor level members, for helping support the YouTube channel. Hello, and welcome to my channel. My name is Jonathan Cohn, and today I have my March reading review. I'm going to talk about all of the books that I read in the month of March. And I did quite well this month. I did 15 books in the month of March. The way this broke down was I read 11 novels, I read 2 short story collections, I read 1 manga and 1 comic. And so that's quite a lot of reading, quite a lot of pages that was read this month. And I have everything from some bad books, some mediocre books, some good books, great books, and I have some all-timer books here. So my reading is all over the place this month. Now, at the start of the list, it's all going to be like, did you just read one type of thing? Because all the Star Wars stuff is at the bottom. But trust me, there's more coming in a moment, so just be patient. So we're going to start out with starting from the worst, we're going to go all the way to the best of the month. And starting with the worst that I read was Star Wars Children of the Jedi by Barbara Hambly. This is a book that just did not work for me. It is so different in style than the other Star Wars books of the time, and it feels so out of place. And that's why it was, for me, the worst book that I read this month. And that's really sad, because I wanted to enjoy it, because I have friends who actually like this. But unfortunately, the majority of people are right about this. This is not a great book. And by the way, all of the books that I review or talk about here right now, either the review is already out or the review is coming soon. So if you haven't seen the review for this, it's probably because it just hasn't come out yet, but there will be a review of literally every single book, because I review everything I read, fiction-wise. Let's see, so that was number 15. Number 14 this month, I also read Star Wars Dawn of the Jedi Into the Void, which is the earliest book in the timeline. This review is already out. Did not care for this book either. This book is more just bland, that I just, like, nothing about it stood out, but it also didn't deliver on the promises that it made, which is quite bad. It felt more in-universe. It felt like it fit better than Children of the Jedi did, but that doesn't mean too much. Tim LeBon, sadly, swung and missed with this one. All right, so those were the 2 bad books. Let's get into the mediocre books. Didn't love the books, didn't hate the books. We'll start out with Monster Hunter Legion in 13th place. Monster Hunter Legion is a kind of a pulpy sci-fi fantasy book. Monster Hunter International, hunting down monsters. This one just for some reason didn't connect. It had some really cool individual moments, but when you look at it as a total story, I just thought, that's just didn't click for me. And I was really sad that I didn't enjoy it, because I have really enjoyed the other Monster Hunter books, but sadly this one did not work. This review has not released yet, will release later in April. I also read Star Wars Tales from Jabba's Palace. This is in 12th place. And this book, actually, I liked it better than the other books on the list so far that I've talked about. But it had some short stories that I think were really good. The first 3 short stories were, I think, the best. And then there were 3 short stories sprinkled out that were good. But there's also like 13 short stories in here that were just not good. And so when you have 6 good ones and 13 bad ones, that's not a great batting average. It's a mediocre batting average. So I gave this one like a 6 out of 10. If you've read the Tales of the Mos Eisley Cantina, this is very similar in quality to that. All right, so we did 15, 14, 13, 12. Let's talk about my number 11 book. Is another short story collection, and that is Ghosts of Malta from Raconteur Press. In March, not only serendipitously did I interview Raconteur Press about something else, I also picked this up at the same time. And there were some short stories in here that I liked, and some short stories in here I didn't like. I feel very much similar to the way Jabba's Palace, it was a very, a couple stories I liked, a couple stories I didn't like. But yeah, it was an okay short story collection. They're mostly like genre bent, but they're not. None of them are terribly genre heavy. It's just like a fiction story with a little bit of genre, a little bit of horror, a little bit of fantasy, a little bit of sci-fi, a little bit of historical fiction. Like it's fiction with a little bit of bent to it, and it was okay. All right, my number 10 read of the month, and my last mediocre read, was The Machine Crusade by Brian Herbert and Kevin J. Anderson. I'm a big Brian Herbert, Kevin J. Anderson fan. Been loving their other Dune books. For some reason, this one didn't hit. This is the first time they've had one that I was like, about, which is really sad. It's the longest book in the trilogy. I wonder if they just bloated it too much. I do have the third book to read in April, and hopefully I will like that one better. But yeah, that was The Machine Crusade. It continues on. It feels in universe. It feels like it fits everything well, which is why, and there was stuff about it I liked, so it's a little bit better than the other ones I've talked about previously, but compared to their other works, this was not their best. So that was Dune: The Machine Crusade. So those were the lower lists, the bad books and the mediocre books. Now let's talk about the pretty good books. These are not amazing, but these are entertaining. These are ones that, they were fun. I enjoyed reading these. So we'll start out with my number 9 of the month is The Martian Contingency by Mary Robinette Kowal. This review is already out. I actually reviewed it on release day. This is the 4th book in the Lady Astronaut series. I was sent an arc of this. I enjoyed the book. I had a lot of moral quandaries with it, and I do discuss those in my full review that's already out. But the book still had some entertainment value to it, and I did afterwards feel like, that was a fun read. I still like when Mary Robinette talks about space. I really do enjoy it. I just wish she did it more than she did in this book, because she didn't do it quite as much in this one as I wanted her to. So that's why I gave it a 7 out of 10. That was number 9 of the month. Let's see. In 8th place is a comic, and that was Secret Wars. I have not been a big comics reader, but I made a goal this year of picking up more, and I picked up Secret Wars, and I had a fun time with it. It's a quick read. You can read it in a day. It's 9 issues. It's kind of confusing, but it's a fun read, and I will have a full review up in a couple of weeks. This one, because this one was my most recent read, and I gave it like a 7.5 out of 10. It was an entertaining read. I promise comics and manga aren't going to take over the channel. It's just that I'm sprinkling them in. But you've seen, there's been a lot of novels so far. All right, what place are we in? We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. In 7th place for the month, we have Sunrise on the Reaping, the new release for the Hunger Games series by Suzanne Collins. I read this the week of release, got my video out very quick because I wanted to get it out there so that people could see it and talk about it. And sometimes with new releases, I feel like I'll get it up when I get it up, and it's fine. And there's some times where I rush to release it, and still nobody cares. This is one of those times where I trusted my instincts and read it as fast as I could, and I was right to do so because this has become one of my most viewed book reviews on the channel. So you've probably already seen it. But anyway, I enjoyed this. Haymitch's voice wasn't as developed as I wanted it to be, but it was a fun Hunger Games novel. If you enjoy the Hunger Games, you're going to enjoy reading this. So that's why I gave it like an 8. Like, it was pretty entertaining as a whole. It was just, and it had some deep themes as well. It was just missing Haymitch's voice, and that was enough for me to be like, it can't be top tier. But I really had a blast reading it. All right, so in 6th place is going to be One Piece volumes 7 through 9. I read this earlier in the month. I'm really connecting with the characters in One Piece. I'm loving the themes. I'm loving just how much I just connect with everything about this. Boy, does this book have some dark moments with some characters' backstories. Whenever it goes to like the black background of the pages, I'm like, uh-oh, something's going on here. So yeah, I'm almost done with the East Blue arc, and I'm having a blast with it. This one I'd also give like an 8 out of 10. It was a really entertaining book, and I'm super having fun with this. This is definitely a good palate cleanser series. the last of my pretty good books is Star Wars Jedi Twilight, the first book in the Coruscant Nights trilogy. I picked this one up, and this was, of the Star Wars books of the month, this was my favorite. If for total books of the month, it is in 1, 2, 3, 4. This is 5th place. And it was a really good book. Everybody else kind of undersells this series. I personally loved it. I thought it was pretty good. I really enjoyed Chax Pavan. I really love the comedic duo of I-5 and of Dendur. I think that, being on the streets of Coruscant is something that Michael Reeves excels at. He also did this with Darth Maul Shadowhunter, and he really excelled with that book. So yeah, I'm really excited to continue on this trilogy because this was so good. So I'll plan to read books 2 and 3 in the next few months. And yeah, I highly recommend this one. It's very good. And it's very much like Star Wars A New Dawn by John Jackson Miller. All right. My number 4 is such a great book. And this number 4 means so much to me because I felt like I was about to hit a Star Trek reading slump. And it was at the point where I was picking up a new Star Trek novel and I was just not looking forward to it. But then I picked up Star Trek The Next Generation, Gateways, Book 3 of 7, Doors into Chaos by Robert Greenberger. And it is a great book, and it's exactly what I wanted the Gateways series to be from the beginning. This should have been book 1. This should have been book 1 in the Gateways saga. And it's so good, and it has all the political stuff I love, and it's got all the species I love, and it felt like kind of like the greatest hits in a few ways, but also had some new stuff to it. It had some great action, it had some great humor, it had some great character work. This book it has it all. It's a great book. It's really short, but finally a Gateways book that's good. So that's my number 4 book of the month. All right, my top 3. Any other month, these top 3 could have been the book of the month. Any other month, because they're just that good. And so it's really sad because especially book 1, I knew what my book of the month was as soon as I read it, but books 2 and 3 I read afterwards, and it was like, man, these really could have been it. But they're not. But still, the next 3 books I talk about could be top recommendations of the year. They're that good. So trust me when I say I loved these other books. It's just I love my number 1 the most. So my number 3, let's start with my number 3 book of the month is going to be The Evening and the Morning by Ken Follett. This was an absolutely superb historical fiction. This is set during the Viking era in Kingsbridge. Well, actually, Kingsbridge itself does not exist yet. It's just fishing villages everywhere. And Kingsbridge is built during this book. And just the characters are just like Ken Follett always does them. The action and the themes are very rich. And the world of showing what England was like is very good. Everything about this is just superb. And I really enjoy the themes. I really enjoy the religious character in this book is really good and underdeveloped. He should have been the main character. But I really enjoy this book, and I really and I'm looking forward to finishing out the Kingsbridge series in a few months. But yeah, it's a great book, and so that was my number 3 of the month. Keeping with historical fiction, my number 2 read of the month was The Poisoned Crown by Maurice Druon. I think this is the best of the Accursed King saga. I think it is just getting better and better and better. This book is so good. It is 1300s France with the monarchy and all the craziness that was happening there. It's scandals and wars and disputes and political stuff. So good. Again, I've mentioned it in all my reviews and discussions about this. This is like Game of Thrones, but without all the explicit stuff in it, and it's actually historical fiction and actually historical events. The dialogue and the individual characters talking is made up, but the actual major events that are happening, character deaths, the political stuff happening, that's all real. And it's so well done, and it's really short reads. If you might be intimidated reading a Ken Follett. These books can be read super fast because they're just that good. But if you actually want a legitimately smaller historical fiction that still is awesome, the Accursed King saga. These books are really short. So yeah, this book was great. So that leaves me to what was my book of the month. Well, if you've been watching my reviews this month, you'll know what my book of the month was because I just was raving about it. And that was Once a Hero by Michael A. Stackpole. One of the few times where I pretty much picked up the book because of the cover, because I loved the cover, and then by Kevin Johnson, and of course it's Michael Stackpole, who I'm a big fan of, and I like his standalones. And then as I'm reading this book, it's so rich in theme, it's got great story, it's got great ideas, it's got great characters, but it very much feels old school in its pacing. It feels like it just moves so fast. It feels like there's a lot of action that works really well. There's great ideas about morality in this book that I just appreciate because I don't see it much in books anymore. And this book is just what I've been looking for in fantasy. I've been burned by so many recent fantasy reads, and this one just was exactly what I wanted, and I was super pleased with it. I can't recommend it enough. And again, it's a standalone, so if you're like, oh man, I don't want to read another 10-book series, well, it's a single book, it's a standalone. I mean, he could always go back and do more, but I mean, it's a standalone by itself, and it has a very satisfying ending. So, Michael Stackpole's Once a Hero was my book of the month, and I absolutely loved it from cover to cover. And so, this is in contention for my number 1 or number 2 book of the year, seriously, already. It's that good. This and Timothy Zahn's The Green and the Gray. So those are all the books. I read a lot of books. I read 15 books. This is already, I'm already basically like a month and a half ahead, almost 2 months ahead on where I should be with my reading. Normally I try to write 10 books a month. I've already read something like, I want to say like 47 books. And I should be at like 30 books. So I'm doing great right now. April, I have a lot of books planned. I'm really excited for it. Hopefully I'll be able to read a lot as well. And this summer, I have some big stuff planned as well. So let me know if you've read any of these in the comments section, what you thought of these books. What did you read in the month of March? And what are you looking forward to reading? And what are you looking forward to me reading? Let me know any of those thoughts in the comments section down below. And until next time, I'm Jonathan, and thank you for watching.